Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of my history channel. Today we will be looking at Unit 8, Topic 2 of the AP US History or US History curriculum to help you prepare for your classes or AP test. So if you're ready to get your brain cows milked second Red Scare style, let's get to it. Okay, in today's video, we want to answer one simple question. How did McCarthyism increase American spheres of communism and communists during the Cold War? Alright, let's back up a little bit before that and get some context. Right after World War II, tensions between the Soviets and the US grew significantly. The Soviets began spreading their communist beliefs and ideals throughout Europe. The Iron Curtain was created, separating the communist East of Europe from the democratic West. The US counteracted this by implementing policies such as the Marshall Plan, giving aid to European countries recovering from the war. Not only did it help countries post-war and recovering, the US actually wanted to limit the amount of communist countries spreading throughout the world. They believed that if a country is healthy and prospering, they are more likely to be democratic. But if they aren't doing so well economically, they are more likely to fall to communism. The US didn't want more countries to fall to communism, hence the passing of the Marshall Plan. Additionally, one more thing, the Truman Doctrine also highlighted the communist tensions going on in the world. This doctrine established a way for the US to help European countries being threatened by communism. You can already start to see this growing tension between the US and the Soviets starting to boil. On top of these foreign policies, other events throughout the world further increased tensions and fear of communism. China had fallen to communism in 1949. And worst of all, the Soviets had developed an atomic bomb a couple months before that. Both of these events culminated into a period known as the Second Red Scare. Again, a Red Scare simply means a period of fear of the rise of communism and communist beliefs in one's country. So given what was happening in the world with the spread of communism, what was happening back at home in the US? Enter Senator Joseph McCarthy. McCarthy was a senator from Wisconsin, and he wasn't very well known after World War II. He was looking for a political issue that he could use to gain power and rise to the top. And what was that political issue? Communism. Communism boosted him onto the center stage of the US. McCarthy increased the fear of communism in many ways. Let's look at one that started the era known as McCarthyism, his speech in Wheeling, West Virginia. At Wheeling, McCarthy made a speech primarily to the Women's Republican Club. At this speech, he claimed to have a list of 205 communists working in the US State Department. This led to widespread fear of communism in the country, allowing McCarthy to become more powerful and exploit the fear many people were facing. It created a society where many people were afraid of the government and higher-ups and that they were corrupted and had spies, which ultimately led to an immense amount of blaming, accusing, and intensive investigation on supposed communists. Additionally, McCarthy had little to no credible or accurate evidence of these people on his list. But given the context of the events going on in the world, such as China falling to communism and the Soviets' own atomic bomb, many people trusted him and believed he was right. One well-known group that faced these investigations were the Hollywood 10. Okay, so the Hollywood 10 were a group of actors, directors, screenwriters, and more who worked in Hollywood studios. This group refused to answer questions from the HUOC, more about this later, about communism, resulting in their arrest and prison time for 6 to 12 months. On top of this, they were blacklisted from Hollywood studios. Other than this group, many other workers and other people in different fields who were accused of communism and espionage were fired, blacklisted, and other things that completely ruined their lives. It was very devastating for these people. Alright, let's briefly talk about the HUOC, or the House of Un-American Activities Committee. The HUOC, or HUAC, was initially created to stop the spread of Nazi influence in the 1930s, but eventually switched to stopping the spread of communists after World War II. Like McCarthy, they didn't use a lot of evidence, but instead they used guilt by association and fear. This led to bosses issuing loyalty oaths, film credits being erased, famous writers suddenly stopping their writing, and many more horrible things. You see, during this time, the economy was very uncertain, racial tensions were rising, And of all things, Soviet and communist influence was rising in and out of the US. In a world filled with fear, people wanted something to believe in, and that was blaming the communists for their fears and troubles. The HUOC and McCarthy didn't directly work together, but their views aligned almost entirely like parallel lines. Just think about geometry if you remember anything from that. I mean, we're in a history class. I don't know why I'm talking about this. Anyways, let's get back to McCarthy. Alright, you see how all the things we've been talking about is building up that tension in the US and its society? McCarthy is using the fear of communism as a way to gain more power and popularity. Let's talk about one more event with McCarthy, his letter to Truman. In this letter, McCarthy blamed Truman for not taking enough action against communism and called him weak. This direct letter made it seem like communism was a national event that needed immediate attention against, which ultimately led to less government trust and more belief in McCarthy's false accusations. This move made McCarthy an even stronger leader in the government to the American people. It also increased the fear we've been talking about of communism and espionage in the higher levels of US society. In the end, McCarthy led to his downfall after getting too aggressive with his accusations. The Army McCarthy hearings, where McCarthy blamed people of the Army for being communists, were nationally televised, and everybody heard his ridiculous statements and his reckless accusations. All the people who once believed in him switched sides at an instant after he was exposed, and later that year, McCarthy was censured by the state, and many people lost trust in his ideals. Okay, so based on everything we've covered, the main point is that the era known as McCarthyism did significantly increase fear of the spread of communism as seen through the events we've talked about above. From the spreading of ideals of communism post-World War II and the countless accusations from McCarthy shaped the US into a country filled with fear and mistrust. Okay, that's all you need to know about Unit 8, Topic 2 of AP US History and US History Curriculum about McCarthyism. Thanks, and see you in the next video.